The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Trade Station like thunder in the night. Commander Jake Harrison jumped from his chair and ran to the main control room. His boots made heavy sounds on the metal floor as he moved fast through the long hallways. The trade station was huge and it floated in space near the planet Kepler 442b. Ships came here every day to buy and sell things from all over the galaxy. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was already at her post when Jake arrived. Her face was white with shock and her hands shook as she held the scanner report. She had been working at the station for 5 years, but Jake had never seen her look so scared. Amy was good at her job and nothing ever surprised her. But today was different. "Sir, you need to see this," Amy said. Her voice was quiet and strange. The scanners picked up something impossible. Jake took the report from her hands. The paper felt cold and the numbers on it made no sense. According to the scanners, a ship was coming toward their station. But this was not just any ship. The energy signature matched a human ship called the UES Horizon. Jake knew that name. Everyone in the galaxy knew that name. The Horizon had gone missing 15 years ago in a place called the Void Sector. The Void Sector was the most dangerous place in the galaxy. It was like a big black hole in space, but worse. Ships that went there never came back. The Zephyrian Empire had sent 3 big fleets there over the past 100 years. None of them returned. Even the Empire's best ships with the strongest weapons could not survive the Void Sector. Scientists said it was impossible to enter and come back alive. "This has to be wrong," Jake said. He looked at the numbers again, but they stayed the same. "Run the scan again." Amy pressed buttons on her control panel. The big screen in front of them showed the same results. A ship was coming, and it was definitely the Horizon. But that could not be right. The Horizon was gone. Dead. Lost forever in the Void Sector with all its crew. Captain Lisa Bennett walked into the control room. She was the human representative at the station, and she knew more about human ships than anyone. Lisa was smart and calm, and she never got excited about anything. But when she saw the scanner results, her mouth fell open. "That's impossible," Lisa said. She moved closer to the screen and stared at the numbers. "The Horizon disappeared 15 years ago. I was at the ceremony when they declared the crew dead." The 3 of them stood there looking at the screen. Outside the big windows, they could see stars and empty space. But somewhere out there, a ghost ship was coming home. A ship that should not exist was flying toward their station. Jake pressed the communication button. "All stations, this is Commander Harrison. We have an unknown vessel approaching. All security teams report to your posts. This is not a drill. The station came alive with activity. People ran through the hallways and lights flashed everywhere. The trade station had good defenses, but Jake was not sure they would work against a ghost ship. What if the Horizon was not really human anymore? What if something from the Void Sector was controlling it? Amy watched her screen as the ship got closer. "Sir, I'm getting better readings now. The ship looks like the Horizon, but it's different. The hull is made of metal I've never seen before, and the energy readings are off the charts." "What do you mean off the charts?" Jake asked. "I mean the ship has more power than anything in the Imperial fleet. More power than our entire station. The readings don't make sense." Lisa moved to another control panel and started typing fast. She was trying to contact Earth Command to tell them what was happening, but Earth was far away and it would take hours to get a message there and back. They were on their own. The ship appeared on their visual screens 20 minutes later. Jake felt his heart stop when he saw it. The Horizon had been a simple exploration ship when it left. It was built for science, not for war. But the ship on the screen looked like something from a dream. The hull was smooth and silver, and it seemed to bend the light around it. Strange patterns moved across its surface like living things. It was beautiful and scary at the same time. "Open a channel," Jake ordered. Amy pressed more buttons. "Channel open, sir." "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Jake Harrison of Galactic Trade Station 7. Please identify yourself." The answer came back right away. The voice was clear and human and familiar. "Trade Station 7, this is Captain Ryan Cole of the UES Horizon. We request permission to dock." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "That's him." "That's really Ryan Cole. I knew him before he left." "That's his voice." Jake felt confused and scared. Ryan Cole had been dead for 15 years. His family had held a funeral. His name was on a monument on Earth. But here he was talking to them like he had just gone out for a short trip. "Captain Cole, this is impossible. You've been missing for 15 years. How are you alive?" "It's a long story, Commander. We need to dock and talk. We have important information for Earth Command and the Empire." Jake looked at Lisa and Amy. They both nodded. What else could they do? They had to let the ghost ship dock. Permission granted, Captain. Docking Bay 3 is open for you. The Horizon moved toward the station like it was dancing. It flew smoother than any ship Jake had ever seen. There was no noise from engines and no heat from thrusters. It just glided through space like it belonged there. When the ship docked, Jake and Lisa went to the docking bay. They brought a full security team with them, but Jake was not sure that would help if things went wrong. The docking bay was big and cold, and their footsteps echoed in the empty space. The airlock door opened with a soft sound. Captain Ryan Cole stepped out first. He looked exactly like he had 15 years ago. His hair was still brown, his face had no wrinkles, and he moved like a young man. Behind him came 12 other people. Jake recognized some of them from old photos. They were all crew members from the Horizon, and they all looked exactly the same as they had when they disappeared. "Hello, Commander Harrison," Ryan said. His voice was calm and friendly. "Thank you for letting us dock. Captain Cole, where have you been for 15 years? What happened to you in the void sector?" Ryan smiled, but his eyes looked different. They were deeper somehow, like they had seen things that no human should see. "We found something incredible out there. Something that changed everything. We need to talk to your superiors right away." Behind Ryan, the other crew members started unloading cargo containers from their ship. The containers floated in the air without any help. They moved by themselves and followed the crew like trained animals. Jake had never seen technology like that before. Dr. Helen Price, the station's chief scientist, ran a scanner over the returning crew. Her face went white when she saw the results. She pulled Jake to the side and whispered, "Commander, these people are not normal humans anymore. Their cellular structure has been changed, enhanced. I've never seen anything like it." Jake watched as the crew of the Horizon finished unloading their impossible cargo. Whatever had happened to them in the void sector, they were not the same people who had left Earth 15 years ago. They were something new, and that scared him more than any enemy ship ever could. The debriefing room was cold and white with no windows. Commander Jake Harrison sat across from Captain Ryan Cole at a metal table. The room felt too small for such big secrets. High Admiral Marcus Webb had arrived from the Imperial flagship 2 hours ago, and he looked angry and worried. His gray uniform had more medals than Jake could count, and his face was hard like stone. Dr. Helen Price sat in the corner with her scanning equipment. She had been testing the Horizon crew for 3 hours, and the results made no sense. Their bodies were human, but changed in ways that science could not explain. Their hearts beat slower but stronger. Their brains showed activity in areas that normal humans never used. They moved like dancers, and their eyes seemed to see everything at once. "Start from the beginning," Admiral Webb said. His voice was sharp and cold. "Tell us what happened when you entered the void sector 15 years ago." Captain Cole looked calm and relaxed. He did not seem afraid of the Admiral or worried about the questions. "We went in looking for new planets to explore. The void sector was marked as dangerous, but we thought our ship was strong enough. We were wrong about what we would find there." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was recording everything on her datapad. Her fingers moved fast as she tried to capture every word. This conversation would change how the galaxy thought about humans, and she wanted to get it right. "The first thing we noticed was that time worked differently inside the void sector," Ryan continued. "What felt like years to us was actually much longer. We spent decades learning and growing, but only 15 years passed in normal space." Dr. Kevin Martinez stood up from his chair. He had been Ryan's science officer on the Horizon, and now he looked like a man who had seen impossible things. "The void sector is not empty like we thought. It's full of machines and structures left behind by an ancient race called the Architects." Admiral Webb leaned forward in his chair. His knuckles were white as he gripped the table. "What kind of machines?" "Testing machines," Kevin said. "The Architects disappeared millions of years ago, but they left behind systems designed to find worthy species. The void sector is actually a huge school that teaches advanced civilizations how to grow beyond their limits." Jake felt his mouth go dry. The idea was too big to understand. An entire sector of space was actually a school built by ancient aliens. "What kind of tests did you face?" Ryan smiled, but his eyes looked sad. "Every kind you can imagine. We had to solve math problems that took years to figure out. We faced scenarios where we had to work together perfectly or die. We were challenged to be creative in ways that pushed our minds to the breaking point." Lieutenant Nancy Foster, the ship's engineer, walked to the front of the room. She looked young but moved like someone much older and wiser. The architects didn't just test our knowledge. They tested our hearts and souls. They wanted to know if we could handle great power without becoming evil. And apparently you passed, Admiral Webb said. His voice was full of suspicion and fear. Barely, Nancy said. Humans are good at working together when we have to. We're creative and stubborn, and we don't give up easily. The architects like that about us. Dr. Price stood up and walked to her scanner. The screen showed readings that made no sense. These enhancements to your bodies are just the beginning, aren't they? Kevin nodded. The architects gave us knowledge about how the universe really works. We learned to change matter at the smallest level. We discovered how to move through space without ships. We found out how to connect our minds while keeping our individual thoughts. Admiral Webb stood up so fast that his chair fell over. You're telling me that 12 humans now have technology that could destroy the Empire? No, Ryan said quietly. We have technology that could help the Empire grow into something better. The architects don't give weapons to anyone. They only teach those who want to build and create and help others. Jake watched the Admiral's face turn red with anger. The Empire had controlled the galaxy for centuries through fear and superior weapons. If humans now had access to technology that the Empire could not understand or match, everything would change. What do you want? Admiral Webb asked. Ryan stood up and walked to the window that looked out into space. Even though the room had no windows, everyone could somehow see the stars outside. It was another impossible thing that the Horizon crew could do. We want humanity to have equal status in the Galactic Council. We want to share some of our new knowledge with other species. We want to help the galaxy grow beyond war and conquest. The Empire will never agree to that, Webb said. Then the Empire will be left behind, Nancy said. The architects told us that this galaxy is ready for the next step in evolution. Species that refuse to grow will find themselves alone while others move forward together. Dr. Martinez walked to another part of the room and touched the wall. The metal changed color and became transparent. Outside, they could see the horizon floating next to the trade station. The ship looked peaceful but powerful, like a sleeping giant that could wake up at any moment. We didn't ask for this responsibility, Martinez said. We were just explorers who wanted to see new worlds. But the universe chose us to be teachers and guides. We can't ignore that calling. Admiral Webb pulled out his communication device. I need to contact the Imperial Council immediately. This situation is beyond my authority. We understand, Ryan said. But while you're talking to your superiors, we'll be talking to ours. You mean Earth Command? No, we mean the other architect sites scattered throughout the galaxy. The Void Sector was just one of many testing grounds. There are others, and they're all connected. Species from across the galaxy are facing the same tests we passed. Some are succeeding and some are failing. Jake felt the room spin around him. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not the only species being elevated by ancient aliens. Somewhere out there, other races were gaining impossible powers and knowledge. The galaxy was changing, and no one knew what it would look like when the transformation was complete. How long do we have? Jake asked. Before what? Ryan replied. Before everything changes forever. Ryan looked out at the stars again. His enhanced eyes could see things in space that normal humans could never notice. Ships were moving between star systems. Messages were being sent across impossible distances. Ancient machines were waking up after millions of years of sleep. It's already started, Ryan said softly. The change began the moment we returned. Every species in the galaxy will have to choose soon. They can evolve with us or they can stay behind, but things will never be the same again. Admiral Webb left the room to make his calls to the Imperial Council. Dr. Price continued her scans and tests. Amy kept recording everything for the history books. But Jake just sat in his chair and stared at the 12 humans who had returned from the impossible with gifts that would reshape the galaxy. Outside the station, more ships were arriving. Word was spreading that something incredible had happened. Representatives from dozens of species were coming to see the humans who had beaten the Void Sector and lived to tell about it. The galaxy was holding its breath and waiting to see what would happen next. 3 days had passed since the Horizon crew returned, and the trade station felt like it might explode from tension. Ships arrived every hour, bringing officials from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see the humans who had survived the Void Sector. Captain Ryan Cole knew that words alone would not convince anyone. The galaxy needed proof of what humanity had become. Commander Jake Harrison stood on the observation deck watching the asteroid field near Kepler 442b. The rocks floated in space like sleeping giants, some as big as cities and others small as houses. Ryan had asked permission to use the asteroid field for what he called a demonstration. Jake had agreed, but now he wondered if that was a mistake. Admiral Marcus Webb brought 3 Imperial battleships to watch the show. The ships were massive and covered with weapons that could destroy planets. Their crews were the best in the Empire, and they had never lost a battle. But Jake could see worry in the Admiral's eyes as he watched the small human ship move toward the asteroids. Dr. Helen Price adjusted her scanning equipment for the 10th time in an hour. She wanted to record everything that happened because she knew the galaxy would never believe the reports without proof. Her hands shook as she checked the settings again. Whatever the humans were about to do, it would change everything. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez opened a communication channel to all the watching ships. "This is Trade Station 7. The demonstration will begin in 5 minutes. All vessels maintain safe distance." Captain Lisa Bennett joined Jake on the observation deck. She had known Ryan Cole before he disappeared, and she trusted him. But even she felt scared as she watched the horizon position itself among the floating rocks. "What do you think they're going to do?" "I have no idea," Jake said. "But I don't think we're ready for it." Engineer Tony Clark stepped out of the Horizon's airlock wearing only a normal spacesuit. He carried a small device that looked like a briefcase. The sight of a human floating alone among asteroids that could crush him made everyone watching hold their breath. Tony moved through space like he was swimming in water instead of flying through vacuum. "Beginning Phase 1, Tony said over the radio. His voice was calm, like he was fixing equipment in a repair shop instead of floating in deadly space. Tony opened the briefcase and pulled out something that looked like a crystal ball. He held it up toward the nearest asteroid, and the crystal began to glow. The light spread from the crystal to the asteroid and then to all the rocks around it. Within seconds, the entire asteroid field was glowing with soft blue light. Dr. Price watched her scanners and gasped. "The molecular structure of the asteroids is changing. The rock is becoming something else, something I've never seen before." The asteroids began to move on their own. They rotated and shifted position until they formed perfect geometric shapes. Spheres and cubes and pyramids arranged themselves in patterns that hurt to look at. The rough gray rocks transformed into smooth crystals that sparkled with internal light. "Phase 1 complete," Tony said. He put the crystal back in the briefcase and pulled out another device. This one looked like a small wand made of silver metal. Admiral Webb grabbed his communication officer by the arm. "Are you recording all of this?" "Yes, sir, but the scanners don't understand what they're seeing. The readings make no sense." Dr. Rachel White, the Horizon's physicist, spoke over the radio from inside her ship. "What you're witnessing is matter manipulation at the quantum level. We've learned to change the basic building blocks of reality. What takes your empire massive factories and thousands of workers, we can do with portable tools and focused intention." Tony pointed the silver wand at one of the crystal asteroids. The rock began to hollow itself out from the inside. Within minutes, it had become a perfect sphere with rooms and corridors inside. Lights appeared in windows that had not existed moments before. The asteroid had become a space station built from pure thought and alien technology. Jake felt his legs go weak. The Empire needed years and millions of credits to build space stations. The humans had just created one in minutes using rocks and a device the size of a pencil. "Phase 2 complete," Tony said. He put the wand away and spoke to his ship. "Peter, show them what we learned about travel." Lieutenant Peter Young was the Horizon's pilot, and he had been quiet during the first parts of the demonstration. Now his voice came over the radio, sounding excited and proud. "Beginning Phase 3. All ships maintain distance." The horizon began to glow with the same blue light that had touched the asteroids. The glow got brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at the ship directly. Then something impossible happened. The horizon simply vanished from space like it had never existed. "Where did they go?" Admiral Webb shouted. His scanner showed empty space where the human ship had been floating seconds before. "Behind you," Peter Young said over the radio. Every ship in the area turned to look behind them. The horizon appeared on the far side of the star system, millions of kilometers away from where it had started. The journey that should have taken hours at maximum speed had happened in the blink of an eye. "Instantaneous travel," Rachel White explained, as the horizon reappeared next to the demonstration site. "We've learned to step outside normal space and emerge wherever we choose. Distance has become meaningless to us." Admiral Webb sat down heavily in his command chair. The Empire's fastest ships were nothing compared to what he had just witnessed. If humans could teleport across star systems, they could strike anywhere without warning or escape from any battle before it started. But the final demonstration was the one that scared everyone the most. Communications specialist Carol Davis spoke to all the watching ships at the same time, but she was not using radio or any technology they could detect. Her voice appeared directly in the minds of every person listening. "We can connect our thoughts with any human anywhere in the galaxy," Carol said without using her mouth. "We share knowledge and feelings while keeping our individual personalities. We have become something new while staying human at our core." Jake grabbed his head as Carol's voice filled his thoughts. He could feel her emotions and see glimpses of her memories. For a moment he experienced what it was like to be enhanced by architect technology. The feeling was wonderful and terrifying at the same time. "Stop," Admiral Webb yelled. "Get out of our heads." Carol's mental voice faded away, but the memory of the connection remained. Every person who had experienced it knew that humanity had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Ryan Cole's voice came over normal radio. "The demonstration is complete. We hope this helps you understand what we've become and what we're offering to share." The asteroid field now contained a dozen crystal space stations that hummed with stored energy. The horizon floated among them like a teacher surrounded by students. And in the minds of everyone who had watched, the knowledge remained that humans were no longer the junior species they had once been. Admiral Webb stared at the transformed asteroids and the impossible human ship. His empire had ruled through superior technology for centuries, but now a dozen humans possessed knowledge that made his greatest weapons look like toys made by children. "What happens now?" Jake asked over the radio. "Now we wait," Ryan replied. "The Empire must decide if it wants to grow with us or try to stop us. Either way, the galaxy will never be the same again." The Imperial response came faster than lightning strikes in a storm. Within 6 hours of the demonstration, Battlefleet 7 surrounded the trade station with enough firepower to turn a moon into dust. Admiral Marcus Webb had been recalled to the Imperial capital, and in his place came General Patricia Lee, a woman whose name made entire star systems tremble with fear. Commander Jake Harrison watched from the observation deck as the massive Imperial warships took position around the station. Each ship was the size of a small city and bristled with weapons that could crack planets in half. The fleet's arrival had been silent and precise, like wolves surrounding their prey. Jake counted 47 ships in total, and knew there were probably more hiding in nearby space. General Lee's reputation preceded her like a cold wind. She had crushed 17 rebellions across the galaxy, and her methods were always the same: overwhelming force followed by complete destruction of anyone who opposed Imperial rule. Species that had dared to challenge the Empire's authority were now footnotes in history books, their worlds nothing but lifeless rocks floating in space. Captain Lisa Bennett stood next to Jake with her face pale and worried. "She's known as the Planet Killer," Lisa whispered. "The last time she dealt with a problem species, she destroyed their entire home system as an example to others." The communication system crackled to life, and General Lee's voice filled every corner of the station. Her words were sharp and cold like broken glass. "This is General Patricia Lee of the Imperial Navy. I am speaking to the crew of the vessel known as Horizon. You have exactly 1 hour to surrender all architect technology for Imperial study and evaluation." Jake felt his heart sink into his stomach. The Empire was not interested in negotiation or compromise. They wanted the alien technology, and they were prepared to kill everyone to get it. The peaceful trade station had become the center of a conflict that could destroy the entire galaxy. Dr. Helen Price ran to her communication console and tried to reach Earth Command. But the Imperial ships were jamming all long-range transmissions. No messages could get in or out of the system. The station was cut off from the rest of the galaxy like an island surrounded by shark-filled water. Furthermore, General Lee continued, "Any resistance will be met with immediate termination. The Empire has maintained galactic peace for over 1,000 years, through superior firepower, and we will not allow a handful of enhanced humans to upset that balance." Captain Ryan Cole's voice came over the station's internal communication system. He sounded calm and unworried despite being surrounded by enough weapons to destroy 100 worlds. "Commander Harrison, please gather your senior staff in the main docking bay. We have something to show the General." Jake looked at Lisa and Dr. Price. They all knew they were about to witness something that would either save them all or get them killed. The three of them made their way through the station's corridors as alarm lights flashed red warnings throughout the complex. The docking bay was full of people when they arrived. The entire crew of the Horizon stood together near their impossible ship, while station personnel watched from a safe distance. Ryan Cole looked completely relaxed as he faced the biggest military threat in galactic history. "General Lee," Ryan said into his communication device, "thank you for coming to visit us. We have a demonstration that might change your mind about using force." "You have 53 minutes remaining," Lee replied. "Use them wisely." Ryan nodded to Dr. Kevin Martinez, who pulled out a device that looked like a small silver sphere. The device was no bigger than a baseball, but it hummed with energy that made the air itself vibrate. Martinez held the sphere up toward the ceiling of the docking bay. "This is what we call a clarity field generator," Martinez explained. "The architects taught us that violence comes from a lack of understanding. When beings truly comprehend the consequences of their actions, they choose cooperation over conflict." Martinez activated the device and waves of invisible energy spread out from the silver sphere. The energy passed through the walls of the station and continued expanding into space toward the Imperial fleet. Jake felt the energy wash over him like warm water, but nothing seemed to change. At first, nothing happened aboard the Imperial ships either. The crews continued their duties and the weapons remained charged and ready. But then something extraordinary began to occur. For the first time in their lives, the alien species serving the Empire started to experience human emotions. General Lee sat in her command chair on the flagship and suddenly felt something she had never experienced before. She could sense the fear of the people on the trade station. She could feel their hope and their love for their families. She understood for the first time in her career that the beings she was threatening were not just targets or obstacles, but living creatures with dreams and feelings just like her own. Commander Harrison watched his communication console as reports came in from the Imperial ships. Crews were laying down their weapons and questioning orders they had followed without thought for years. Officers who had never cared about casualties were suddenly horrified by the idea of causing unnecessary death. The rigid hierarchy that held the Empire together began to crack like ice in spring. Alien beings who had served as soldiers for centuries discovered concepts like mercy and compassion. The idea of destroying entire worlds to maintain order became not just wrong, but unthinkable. Dr. Martinez explained what was happening as chaos spread through the Imperial fleet. The architect technology doesn't just manipulate matter and energy. It can influence consciousness itself. We're not controlling anyone's thoughts, but we're helping them understand perspectives they never considered before. General Lee stood up from her command chair and walked to the window of her flagship. She stared out at the trade station, and for the first time saw it not as a military target but as a home where people lived and worked and loved their families. The realization hit her like a physical blow. "All ships stand down," Lee ordered. Her voice was shaking and confused. "Lower weapons and power down targeting systems." Her weapons officer, a reptilian alien who had served the Empire for 30 years, looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "General, I can feel what we were about to do." "All those innocent people. How did we never see it before?" Lee sat back down in her chair as the full weight of her career crashed down on her. She had destroyed 17 civilizations and killed billions of beings. She had told herself it was necessary for galactic peace, but now she could feel the pain and loss she had caused. The families torn apart, the dreams destroyed. The futures ended before they could begin. "The architect technology comes with built-in safeguards," engineer Nancy Foster explained over the communication system. "Those who possess such power must use it responsibly. The ancient race made sure that their gifts would only be used for creation and growth, never for destruction or conquest." Ryan Cole spoke directly to General Lee over an open channel. "General, we don't want to fight the Empire. We want to help it evolve into something better. The galaxy is ready to move beyond rule through fear and violence. We can show you a better way." Lee stared at her reflection in the command chair's polished surface. The woman looking back at her was a stranger. For 40 years she had been the Empire's most effective killer, but now she could barely stand to think about the things she had done. The clarity field had not changed who she was, but it had shown her who she could become. "What do you want from us?" Lee asked. Her voice was quiet and broken. "Partnership instead of domination," Ryan replied. "Cooperation instead of conquest. Help us build a galaxy where all species can grow and prosper together." The Imperial fleet that had arrived to destroy the trade station now floated powerlessly in space. Crews who had been ready to commit genocide moments before were now questioning everything they had believed about duty and honor. The Empire's greatest strength, its absolute discipline, had become its greatest weakness when faced with the gift of empathy. Jake looked around the docking bay at the 12 humans who had returned from the impossible. They had not defeated the Empire with superior weapons or military tactics. They had won by helping their enemies understand what it meant to be truly alive. 6 months after the Horizon returned from the impossible, the galaxy looked completely different from the one that had existed before. Commander Jake Harrison stood on the observation deck of what used to be called Galactic Trade Station 7, but was now known as Unity Station. The name change reflected everything that had happened since that incredible day when 12 humans showed the galaxy what it could become, the Imperial fleet. That had once surrounded the station with threats of destruction now served as peacekeepers and protectors. General Patricia Lee had become the most unlikely advocate for the new galactic order. Her ships, once instruments of fear and oppression, now helped transport supplies to worlds that needed assistance and protected trade routes from the few remaining pirates who refused to accept the changing times. Dr. Helen Price walked through the corridors of the expanded research facility that had grown around the station like a living thing. Scientists from dozens of different species worked together in laboratories that would have been impossible to imagine just months ago. The competitive secrecy that had once defined galactic science was gone, replaced by open sharing of knowledge and discoveries that benefited everyone. The breakthrough in quantum biology came from combining Zephyrian medical techniques with human creativity and architect principles. Dr. Price explained to a group of visiting researchers, "None of our species could have achieved it alone, but together we've found ways to heal injuries that were once permanent and extend lifespans across all known races." Captain Ryan Cole had been appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador, but he spent most of his time working with teams that included philosophers, scientists, and spiritual leaders from across the galaxy. The goal was not just technological advancement, but the careful elevation of consciousness that would prepare other species for their own encounters with architect systems. The transformation had not been without challenges and setbacks. Several worlds had rejected the new order entirely, viewing the changes as threats to their traditional ways of life. The Rigel Confederation had closed its borders and declared that any ship carrying architect technology would be destroyed on sight. 3 systems in the Outer Rim had formed an alliance dedicated to preserving what they called the old ways of conducting galactic affairs. But for every world that resisted change, 5 others embraced it. The planet Kepler 438b had become the first world to successfully integrate architect principles into their entire society. Cities there now existed in perfect harmony with the natural environment, using technology that enhanced rather than replaced the world's ecosystems. Lieutenant Peter Young had made 17 more trips to the Void Sector, each journey bringing back new crews of enhanced humans. But more importantly, he had begun guiding volunteer expeditions from other species who felt ready to face the architect trials. Not all of them succeeded, but those who did returned with the same gifts of wisdom and enhanced abilities that the Horizon crew possessed. The Centaurians completed their trials last week, Peter reported during the weekly briefing at Unity Station. Their test focused on emotional growth rather than technological advancement. They've developed an ability to sense and heal psychological trauma in other beings. It's remarkable what each species discovers about themselves in the architect systems. Engineer Nancy Foster stood before a holographic display showing the galaxy's current status. Green dots marked worlds that had embraced the new order. Yellow showed those that were considering it, and red indicated the holdout systems that remained hostile. The map looked like a constellation of hope with scattered pockets of darkness. "We're seeing interesting patterns," Nancy explained. Species that were natural explorers and cooperators adapt to architect technology quickly. Those that built their civilizations on conquest and dominance struggle with the consciousness expansion that comes with the gifts. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez had been promoted to communications director for the entire Unity Station complex. Her job now involved coordinating messages between dozens of species and managing the constant stream of requests for information about the architect systems. The most common question came from worlds asking when they would be ready for their own trials. The architects left behind evaluation protocols, Amy explained to a delegation from the Vega system. Your species shows promise in creativity and problem-solving, but you still resolve conflicts through violence too often. The trials require absolute commitment to growth and cooperation. Dr. Kevin Martinez had established the first Academy for Consciousness Studies on a moon-orbiting Unity station. Students from across the galaxy came to learn about the principles that governed architect technology. The most important lesson was also the most difficult one for many species to accept. Advanced technology without wisdom leads to destruction, Martinez taught his classes. The architects learned this lesson millions of years ago, when they nearly destroyed themselves with their own creations. They transcended physical existence not through advanced machines but through evolved consciousness. Captain Lisa Bennett had returned to Earth to help coordinate humanity's new role in galactic affairs. The planet that had once been considered a backwater colony was now the center of an interstellar renaissance. Human cities had been rebuilt using architect principles, creating living spaces that existed in perfect balance with technology and nature. Earth's capital city of New Geneva now hosted the Galactic Council's permanent headquarters. Representatives from over 200 species met there regularly to discuss the peaceful expansion of consciousness and technology throughout the galaxy. The old council chambers on the imperial capital world sat empty, monuments to a system of government that had outlived its usefulness. Admiral Marcus Webb, the man who had first encountered the returned Horizon crew, now served as Earth's planetary defense coordinator. His job had changed from preparing for war to coordinating exploration missions and cultural exchange programs. The transformation from military commander to peaceful facilitator had not been easy, but Webb embraced his new role with the same dedication he had once shown as a warrior. Every day we receive requests from species wanting to visit Earth and learn from our example, Webb reported during a council session. The irony is not lost on me that the species, once barely considered worthy of junior membership, now leads the galaxy toward a better future. But the most remarkable changes were happening on individual levels across the galaxy. Pirates who had once raided merchant ships found themselves unable to harm innocent people after exposure to clarity fields. Politicians who had built careers on fear and division discovered the joy of bringing different groups together. Scientists who had hoarded knowledge learned the satisfaction of sharing discoveries that helped others. Communications specialist Carol Davis had developed her telepathic abilities to the point where she could maintain mental contact with humans across the entire galaxy. She served as the coordinator for what people called the Human Consciousness Network, a voluntary connection that allowed enhanced humans to share knowledge and support each other instantly, across any distance. "We're not losing our individuality," Carol explained to concerned observers. "We're discovering that being connected makes us more ourselves, not less. When you know you're not alone in the universe, you become braver, more creative, and more willing to take risks that help everyone." The criminal organizations that had initially tried to exploit the chaos of the galactic transformation found themselves unable to operate in a galaxy where more and more beings could sense dishonesty and manipulation. The old systems of corruption and exploitation simply stopped working when people could feel the emotions and intentions of those around them. Ryan Cole often stood in his office at Unity Station, looking out at ships from across the galaxy, arriving with beings eager to learn and grow. The species that had once barely rated membership in galactic society now guided others toward wisdom and consciousness expansion. The transformation was far from complete, but the direction was clear. "We went to explore the Void sector looking for new worlds," Ryan said during his final report to Earth Command. "Instead, we found new ways to be human and new paths for the galaxy to follow." The greatest discoveries weren't about technology or power, but about what we could become when we chose growth over fear. The missing Earth ship had indeed returned, carrying gifts that no one could have imagined. But the real miracle was not the advanced technology or enhanced abilities. The miracle was that 12 humans had proven that any species, no matter how young or small, could transcend its limitations and help others do the same. The galaxy was still changing, still growing, still discovering what it meant to be truly alive in a universe full of infinite possibilities.